Well, it's Labor Day and the market is closed today, but let's take a look at our open positions and let's see where the market could be heading this coming week. Hello my friends, this is Legend. So today is Labor Day, so the markets are closed today. But I thought it would be a good time to kind of go over our positions and just to see if we can get an idea of where the markets could be heading this coming week. But of course, over the weekend, anything could change, right? Let's just take a look to see where everything sits currently. All right, so here we are on the Webull chart, and I've got ULTY pulled up for the first one here. And you can see that we did end up down on Friday, right? We ended up at that 567. After hours, it was at 569. We could draw in some supports right here just to see if there happens to be anything that is mating up to some previous supports over here. Okay, I got this one line right here at this 557-ish area. And you can see over here, if we zoom in, we can see that it did come down, test it here. We tested it here. And there's several times that it has touched it and sometimes went past it, but then got rejected, right? So we're going to use this 557 as our support line right here. And that is near the bottom of this candle here. We are currently coming down and possibly going to test that same line yet again. Now, as far as the indicators go, I'm going to switch it over to the adjusted chart, and then we'll take a look to see where the indicators set for ULTY. So here we are on the adjusted chart, and as you can see, that MACD here is getting tight again, but you can see that's happened over here, and then we got rejected and it came on down, right? We're looking like we're going to test that signal line again. The momentum is decreasing off of that red side, so hopefully we can get that cross up on that MACD and start moving the stock up. The RSI is pointed down, but that RSI 2 is not yet below that 10. So for me, it's not yet a buy. And if I turn on buying positions here, you can see I still have those 75 shares at 582, and I have a couple buy points, one at 560 and one at 550. Now, as that price, if it does start coming down, and if it starts getting close to that 560, I will want to see if this RSI 2 is indeed coming down to at least close to that 10 on that RSI 2. If not, I may end up bumping this 560 down to 555. And that would put it closer to around the bottom of the candle of the other day, right? Because I always want to make my purchases below that 10 or at least close to it, right? But that's just me. That's just how I'm making my purchases. So let's take a look at MSTY. All right, so here we are on MSTY, and as you can see, we just keep coming down, right? It's been a rough ride in MSTY. Ever since probably around July, mid-July, it looks like we have just continually to come down some. Now, I still have that put at $19 right here, and you can see that's to expire September 19th. So I will look to try to start rolling this one down, and I may have to go out a bit, right? But I want to give myself enough time for MSTY to recover back up to hopefully the $20 range. Now, nothing's guaranteed, of course, but that is where I would love to see it back in, around that $20 range, and that's right in this area here. If it can get to this point and hopefully back up to that 22 area where it was setting around July, that would be ideal. But I have those 375 shares at 24, and I've got that covered call here sitting at a strike of 25. So for the total number of shares I have is this 100 shares under this covered call and 375 that are not tied to any kind of covered call, totaling 475 shares, right? And that's how this is laid out. This is the 375 not tied to anything, and this is the 100 shares that would be on top of the 375 that is tied to a call at a $25 strike, set to expire September 19th, which I do not think that MSTY is going to get to $25 by September 19th, right? So I'm not too worried about that. But let's switch it over to the adjusted chart and let's take a look to see about the indicators. All right, so here we are on the adjusted chart for MSTY, and you can see we are on the bottom half of that Bollinger Band, and we are coming down, and looks like we're getting close to that 10 on the RSI-2. So if come Tuesday or Wednesday, if that RSI-2 does break down below that 10 and that price is still on the bottom half of that Bollinger Band, I may have to purchase a few more shares. Now this is all in hopes that, of course, MSTR does turn around and start moving back up, which then will push our MSTY back up. But while we're getting these down days and I'm getting my buy trigger points, I'm buying a few shares here and there. And when I say a few shares, as you know, they are just a few shares, because my ultimate goal still is to get MSTY paid off. And each time I do buy, it does push out that goal date, right? Because that does bring up my adjusted price per share. And currently that adjusted price per share is at $3.30. And that's why I'm being very careful and very particular on my purchases of MSTY. And of course, all of this is being moved down because the underlying of MSTR is moving down. So let's take a look at that. Here we are on MSTR, and you can see the chart looks very similar to MSTY. Now I currently have 16 shares of MSTR at $355.46. So I am currently down in this position. As you can see, the last price of MSTR was at $334.41 with an aftermarket price of $334.75. Now the overnight market will not actually open until 8 o'clock tonight. And at that point, you'll start seeing things move. And that's 8 o'clock Eastern time. But of course, what ends up pushing MSTR? That is Bitcoin. And you can see, lately we have had a downturn in Bitcoin, right? From that 124K up here to now 109. Now we have come up today on this Labor Day, and it looks like we were at a low of 107.2 and a high of 109.9, and we are currently at 109.1. The momentum here is pretty flat, right? It's just continually moving down currently. Now with this little bitty uptick right here, you can see that MACD is flattening out right here, but that momentum is just constant right now. So we need a little bit of a change in the direction here to start getting some of this momentum to decrease on that red side so that we can hopefully start seeing some green. But as you can see, we have not seen too much green, right? We've seen a lot of red, not a whole lot of green. But again, it's all your perspective, right? Do you see this as falling down to zero, or do you see this as a potential buy, right? And that's the way I'm treating MSTY as well. Now the last one we'll take a look at for the YieldMax funds is SMCY, because I did get into SMCY just recently, and I've got those 10 shares at $14.64, and that was the close on that Friday. Now you can see that RSI-2 did drop down below 10. We are on the bottom half of that Bollinger Band, and that's why I did purchase some SMCY. So I'm now a proud owner of 10 shares at $14.64. Now also next week, I'll be taking a look and watching my swing trades. And the two swing trades that I am doing is, of course, KO for Coca-Cola and Walmart, WMT. And you can see in Coca-Cola here that we did have a green candle on Friday. So that was good to see. I'm currently at 6 shares at $68.79. The last price was $68.99. So I'm hoping that this can move on back up and hopefully move to that midpoint on that Bollinger Band. And that midpoint is sitting around 69.71. And then hopefully I can start setting my stops in profit just in case if it decides to pull back. Now these, again, I'm just swinging. These are not my long-term hold stocks. But since it is above my current average, I will not purchase more shares. Now come Tuesday, if we open and we're down below it, and this RSI2 is below that 10, I might end up buying some more shares of Coca-Cola to help average myself down. And the last one, let's take a look at Walmart. And here we are on Walmart, and as you can see, I've got 5 shares at $96 each with the last price of $96.98. So we did have a nice little uptick right here. So I would love to see this to move on up. And of course, if I turn on my moving averages here, like this, you can see that green line, which is that MA5. And that's what I'll be using as my stop loss point. But I do need the stock to move up above that green line. And if it does open and close up here above this green line, then I can set my stop right there at that 96.26, which is the MA5, and that will protect me from making this into a losing trade, right? I could get kicked out at that 96.26, and if it's coming on down, it could then eventually turn this RSI2 down below 10 again, and I could be picking up more shares. And of course, those shares I'd be picking up at that point would probably be below the $96. So I could then, at that point, close out of the existing trade at a profit, but then buying back in lower than my previous buy. Because as we had saw before, if I look at the 1 year and the 5 year chart of Walmart, you can see overall it is up and to the right. And there we go. There's the 1 year chart. As you can see, just staying above that 200, and that's what I want to see. And on the 5 year chart, staying above that 200, right? So those two charts, the 1 year and 5 year, are just to help me understand that overall this stock moves up. And that's why if you start seeing it come down before it gets an open and close above that green, that's why I'm not too worried about it. Because overall it does move up and it does want to stay above that 200. So even if it does open on Tuesday below that 96 and wants to move down, like I said, if that RSI2 starts moving down and we're at a red candle, we're already on the bottom half of that Bollinger Band, then I will look to average down on my position. So that's just how I'm playing my swing trades though. And like I said, that is not my hold forever trades like my VOO. I also have NVIDIA, Microsoft, and a few others like that. Those I want to hold for the most part. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. Just wanted to kind of give a update of where the market left off this past week, and hopefully to show you what I'm looking for next week as far as in any buys, sells, or stop loss positions, right? So if you would please hit that subscribe button and smash the like button, it'd be much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, Legend out.